It's queuing it up. It's queuing it up. Then you can't pull up the tab on the Zoom visit. Queuing it up. Which one you want? Go back to the Zoom visit. We're watching ourselves on a delayed feed. There you go. That works. All right. Then you can't. All right. The tab on the Zoom visit. You gotta close that YouTube tab, right? Or you gotta keep it open. Which one you want? Keep it open. Go back to the Zoom. We're listening to ourselves. We're watching ourselves on a delayed feed. There you go. On YouTube. That works. All right. Yeah. Then you can. All right. The tab on the Zoom visit. You gotta close that YouTube. All right, that works. Let's do it. All right, we had a couple of technical difficulties.
I know my pictures like to look around in reverse.
Okay, and we got you on here. Why we can't add him? Should he be shown on the feed? Did you add your picture? And I didn't hear you, buddy.
Yes.
All right, admit.
Oh crap. Sorry.
You good?
There he is.
All right, we can't see you. There we go. What's up? Good evening. How we doing? Hey, can we get a push light on? All right. Appreciate you. Yeah, I think we probably about ready for the lights. Yeah, that'll work. That's all we need. And we got Old Glory there, you know what I mean? We don't have no flags inside the house, so we gotta have this outside the house. Okay. So basically, we're just gonna do a short interview, a short introduction, so that your voters, if you wanna give them the link and they can come watch the interview and see kind of where you stand on your policies down there in Kansas, your overall values. You can give a little bit of background about your life and your family. So we like to go ahead and just start it off with if you can introduce yourself, your name, your age, what you do for a living, and we just go from there.
My name is Robert Bonanata. I'm 35. I was born and raised in Amarillo, Texas. Whenever I turned 18, I moved just outside of Omaha to a town named Fremont, Nebraska. And I've been living in Kansas since 2018. I have a 5-year-old son named Carter who goes to Wilson Elementary. And I work at CKC Tank Repair. I repair oil field tanks that leak or have cracks, or I install fittings in them.
That sounds like hard work.
And, yeah.
Long hours?
Some days. Long hours, especially the heat being inside the tanks is extremely dangerous at times. Yes, some tanks have H2S gas that are present on site, so you have to be extremely careful and really know what you're doing. So
you're a man that likes a challenge.
Yes.
Oh, that's good to hear. What can you tell me kind of what are your main motivations for running? What is it that's inspiring you to run for District 36 of the Kansas legislature?
Just overall, we need to change, especially, I think, within our economy. That's the first thing to change, because we need to have funds to be able to do things with, establish better roads, better schooling. You gotta have funds to be able to do day life. So you gotta be able to get somebody this income coming in.
Yeah, yeah. You know, if Trump was here right now, you know what he'd say we gotta do? He'd say we gotta drill, baby, drill. We need energy independence here in America. We don't want to be
Yes.
dependent on anybody else. Yeah. Where do you stand? Matter of fact, where do you stand on farmland? Have you guys had an issue with that? I know we just started legislation here in Nebraska.
Farming's been really tough this year, from what I've heard here. I know that hay is down as far as, there's not much hay being produced here in Kansas this year.
Okay, so the
So
ag
that's
community is
quite-
hurting.
That's quite an issue. We've had a lot of storms come through this year that are, I mean, we should be seeking some kind of natural disaster relief for agricultural purposes or something, along that line.
Like reclaim some of that funding from the feds back to the
Yes.
state. Yes, no, I agree with that.
Yes.
That's definitely proactive thinking. I was gonna ask, so, how do you feel? A lot of states recently have had the issue come up, how much farmland is appropriate to sell to how much farmland is appropriate to sell to a potential foreign adversary. So I don't know how to dance around some of these issues. I'm not really good at using PC talking points.
I think our land here in America should go to Americans specifically.
Right.
To be honest.
And you see that a lot of the
especially our farmlands, our national forests, things like that. Unfortunately, they are being bought out by foreign countries, and that is an issue because that's money that's going into their pockets instead of ours. Like I said, we have to look out for America first,
right.
especially in this day and age. There's a lot of people that are really trying to hinder the American growth. They really don't need to be in office.
And I know that specifically the Communist Party of China, they bought a lot of our farmland, but they bought a lot of land that's in strategic locations, some of it around military installations, and that stuff is kind of concerning. So
yeah, that is very concerning. At this time, I don't really know too much about that, but I could honestly look further into that in the upcoming weeks.
we gotta keep it in the family.
Guidance.
Definitely. Definitely, in the heartland, we gotta protect the Midwest.
I just came from this in Sylvan Grove, and a lot of things that I took in from voters is they're ready for term limits, but not only on a federal level, but they're ready for term limits on the state level too.
Okay, so
I'd like to see more proactive people in office and handling their issues.
so didn't you sign the term limit pledge for US term limits?
Excited.
Oh, that's cool, man. Yeah, no, I signed one too when I ran. I think that's good. I think all grassroots candidates should. I think the government is a cycle where citizens give civic participation, but they're not meant to live in government. You're not Joe Biden, you're not a vampire. So no, I definitely agree with that, man. I appreciate people doing stuff like that. What do you think about? I know there's a lot of turmoil, a lot of commotion around a bunch of different states are trying to do property tax reform, and I'm assuming that you guys are doing something.
Literally
just talking to somebody about that. Oh, perfect.
I was just talking to somebody about that earlier. They're a homeowner. They own a bunch of farmland.
Okay.
And what's hurting them the most is the taxes.
Yeah.
On how much acres. Of course, the more acres that you own, the more that you're going to be taxed on that.
Right.
So I brought the proposal to him saying, what do you really own it? Like as far as, do you really own something that you're paying taxes on?
Right.
Is that really considered your property?
Right. Yeah, because we think of owning something as owning it outright.
Somewhere else, you just have property taxes altogether.
Correct.
Because we own that. So there's got to be a way to get money from somewhere else, possibly even lower taxes all around the board and incentivize more jobs and business growth, more small businesses. More small businesses means more jobs.
Okay.
So more jobs, more people paying taxes.
Right.
It's more taxes rather than taxing somebody in the most.
Right. Yeah, it's what they call economic windfall.
You know, another
Right.
thing that people were really agreeing on me with today, whenever I went to that event, was that the cost of food is astronomical.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's going up. It keeps going up. And sometimes you think it's not, it couldn't get any higher. And then,
And now they're paying like 32 or something for a pack of chicken, somewhere around
yeah,
there.
no, it's
And
ridiculous.
That's
We used to like bacon. We switched to eating bacon once a week. Now we don't even eat bacon. Maybe
yeah.
maybe on the holidays or something if you get.
Like honestly, I can't tell you the last time that I've been able to afford a pack of bacon.
Yeah, no, everything's more
I
expensive.
look at it, my stomach hurts just because of how expensive it is. It's
What kind of ideas do you have to maybe reduce some of the corruption that Americans are seeing in government, maybe on a state level, to free up some more money so that you wouldn't have to do any kind of tax raises or too much logistic manipulation with the tax brackets? You wouldn't have to move around anything or potentially raise too many taxes if you could find enough money that you could reclaim that was being misused. So have you looked into potentially
honestly
any things to auditors? Okay, so maybe,
You know, why
Yeah.
why do they get new vehicles every other year?
yeah, so maybe the auditor could be looking at if these people are using too much overhead.
And I've had other people tell me that their police vehicles are camouflaged, and they're supposed to be a beacon of hey, I'm in Triport, you can go to them, you know, to protect that all out.
Yeah, well, I'm sure agencies allow for a certain number of undercover units to perform certain investigations.
It's a place that I've had come to me, you know, so it's I do agree with that our officers should be a beacon and somebody should be able to run to them for help.
Yeah.
And be able to notice that that's a police vehicle instead of, and you know, I understand the purpose behind unmarked cars,
Yeah,
but when you're busting somebody for a weed growing operation, they could have been taxed.
Yeah.
They,
well, and I think
sitting there paying a whole bunch of money to for them to have all this equipment and all these things and paying their salaries and stuff. When all you have to do is regulate that part of it and tax it.
no, it's definitely
I mean,
economic potential.
Someone's kind of overdosed from marijuana
Right.
that I've ever known. So it really could be able to like.
Yeah, I don't think there's any recorded.
I mean, look at this. Missouri, in their first year of legalization of recreational cannabis, they put in $833 million.
No, I believe it. And they could use it. I mean, if you saw what happened to St. Louis during the George Floyd riots, I mean, like, who was it? What's the name of that? What's the part? Ferguson. Ferguson, they had the riots after Mike Brown was shot, and it just never really stopped. It went all the way on into COVID and the George Floyd riots. It was the summer of love in 2020, June of 2020, when the Democrats burned down half the country, you know, and I mean that's how bad that some of the corruption gets.
Statutes down and statues down, things like that.
Right.
Down.
Right, but we also have a problem in our society where our government, not only are they incompetent and they're ineffective, but then when the average citizen steps up to fill the gap, you think of Kyle Rittenhouse, and they charged him, you know, with 2 counts of murder. But he was restoring order in his neighborhood that the police had abdicated the duty of restoring, you know what I mean? So when you get citizens that really step up and really take the onus of citizenship upon themselves, it's an inspiring thing, like what we see with Donald Trump, who could be living out his later years at a golf course, you know, somewhere with millions of dollars. He's a rich, successful American businessman. He could be arguably living out his life anywhere around the world. And well,
Shot me.
but he chooses to get shot for trying to help America. And when you see stuff like that, it really inspires everyday citizens, grassroots movements and stuff, where the citizens say, hey, I have a duty to this country. Like, this country has given me a lot. And I can't speak for everybody else, but I know that it has, because I know where I live. So I'll just say for myself, I'm grateful for what I have. And it was an honor to be able to run in the primaries and to offer service to my community and to my state, to my country, and say, if there's anything I can do to serve, because I have this perspective, or I have, these resources, or this opportunity that presents itself where I can do something to help my country, I want to do it. And I think stuff like that is really important. I think it's being rekindled. And that's what we're seeing right now. I think we're seeing Donald Trump being used by God. And God is using Donald Trump right now to expose corruption in our country, to move Americans back to faith and back to the founding Christian principles that built this country. So God is taking his nation back. He's taking back his people. And in order for us to see the things that God wants us to see, all this stuff has to happen. So it's a tragedy. But on every level, and we never really were surprised by it, were we? When you saw somebody shoot at Donald Trump, did you ever think that they would? Well, you weren't surprised at all, because you never thought they'll assassinate his character and they'll change the laws to. Right. We knew this was coming. Yeah. Right. And they'll cheat, and they're right on time. You know what I'm saying? Changing goalposts, whatever it must.
It's not
Your shirt is blending in with your background.
this is what they call a skin. They're not acting within the rules of the game.
Oh yeah. We talked about this earlier tonight. We were talking about Robert Greene, the author of 48 Laws of Power, said that politics is the extension of warfare by other means. So yeah, you're right. It's an aspect of civilization where we this is the value. It's also the utility and the absolute what's the word when something is when you can't do without something. Give me a word for it. Absolutely necessary, fundamental.
Necessity.
Yeah, something that's fundamental to our society is free speech, because we can't organize our society correctly and effectively. Look at what's going on now. We're talking about we can't get the Supreme Court justice to say what a woman is. Yeah, it is, but I don't. Right.
Women have been doing that. It's not anything new. They
Right.
shoot at great men and try to take great men out.
But I'm making the point that the censorship that's occurring right now, where we have this large partnership of the
That's because they call a bunch of fake news.
right. There's a lot of that going on. Yeah, there's a lot of people that are influenced by their bias, and they're promoting stuff that they don't necessarily even believe. But what I'm talking about more is just the partnership between the public and the private sector, and the way that is threatening. Like, okay, Elon Musk bought Twitter to restore free speech, because if we don't have free speech, we have people trying to shoot our president. I mean, they imposed gag orders on Donald Trump. The young man that tried to shoot Donald Trump, would he have done what he did if Donald Trump was free to tell people what was truly going on? Because there's things that Trump isn't even talking about, and Trump likes to talk, and he's quick to tell you anything he wants to tell you. But like I said, if we have half of the conversation censored, how can people honestly act responsibly or act reasonably? How can we expect people to act reasonably and rationally when they're only getting half of the conversation? So we really need to have the debate. It's time that, we're talking about with these gender experiments on kids, nobody's really made the case for it yet. I haven't heard it made. It's implied, it's implicit. People say, oh man, no, I don't know nothing. Explain it to me like I'm 4 years old. Explain to me why this is a good thing. Because like I said, if we don't force the conversation, if we don't force the debate sometimes to happen, is to the detriment of our whole society. And it most greatly affects the most vulnerable of us. So the elderly, but mostly the children, the poor, the disabled. So all these people pushing for all these like environmental goals, they're willing to sacrifice the poor primarily. Because rich people that own their own beach houses and mansions and stuff and islands, they don't get pushed out by all these environmental objectives and all these environmental initiatives. Things where they're like, everybody got to get rid of their cars and drive electric. Well, the poor people are going to struggle most with that. So Kansas being a state where it's hard blue collar, working class people, just kind of like Nebraska, you got to protect Kansans from these potential threats like globalization and any kind of imposition that doesn't take into account like you said, people cause flyover states, Nebraska, Kansas, over here, people don't take into account what our interests are. And so you really need to, yeah. So, but you can do that on a state level pretty easily. There shouldn't be too much pushback, but I do think you'll have some new ideas that nobody's really thought about before. So one thing I want to kind of get into is I'd like you to expand a little bit. I know you got a unique perspective. And so give us some of the ideas that you've had, that new ways of doing things that maybe people haven't considered in Kansas, and things that we could open up for potential discussions. What are some discussions you'd like to have?
Incentivize small business growth. Incentivize a lot of small business growth if you just legalize marijuana recreationally. They say Missouri 833 million in their first year of legalization.
Mm-hmm.
It can cover a lot of expenses. If they're going to be out here taking their money,
I'm sorry, did you said million or billion? I just want to make sure. Billion. Million. Okay. But just for clarity's sake, because we couldn't hear it that well. Okay. Just for anybody listening. Okay, I appreciate that.
Just under $1 billion.
Okay.
So check this out. We have a lot of taxpayers here.
Yeah.
Income taxes, right?
Yeah.
And they sit there and take their hard money, and they go across the border to Missouri, Oklahoma, or Colorado, and they spend their money there.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one of the things that's
hurting our economy right here. We spend more money trying to enforce the illegalization of marijuana than trying to regulate it.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons that they
more small businesses.
I think that
more regulating that, just like alcohol, taxable.
Yep.
And after we tax it, we put major tax on it.
Yeah, I think that's one of the reasons that they're.
We let them pay for the roads. We let the people who want to dispose of things like that. We let them pay for the roads, or we let them pay for our schooling. We let them pay for our children's education.
Right.
It's a no-brainer.
Yeah, you let the community reap the rewards.
Our district alone, right here, just with the agricultural, aspect of it.
Right. Right. No, that's I think one of the things that they're talking about with the epic tax is epic tax.
Talking about trying to sign a bill or trying to pass a bill or something that I've heard. They were talking about it about medical marijuana, but they've been talking about this for years.
Right. But epic tax is a proposal that to eliminate property tax. I think it's eliminate property tax in favor of a consumption tax.
Right.
And a consumption tax would be, like almost something like a luxury tax. It's like, a producer would pay a consumption tax when they're producing product, and it's a greater tax burden for the manufacturer, but it would eliminate and alleviate all forms of taxes. I thought the three primary would be, what is it? What are the three primary forms of taxes? You got income tax, retail tax, sales, retail, income, sales, and property. So it would alleviate all those in favor of a consumption tax. But people thought that that might be a burden on the economy, and it would drive away companies. But they were worried about what you said. If we replace property tax or try and alleviate that by mitigating it through sales tax, and we drive up all our sales tax, they talked about getting rid of property tax and income tax altogether and putting the entire burden on sales tax. It would have put you at a 20% tax or something. And then everybody is going to drive to Kansas, and your economy is going to boom because Nebraskans aren't going to spend money with these businesses, not for that. So yeah, so it is kind of what you're saying, like keeping the money in the state, not letting it escape to next door, and then you have bad blood that occur between the two states because they become, yes. But you don't want this, you don't want to be economic rivals, like competitive zero-sum game rivals with your neighbors. You want to, yeah, you want to work cooperative.
But
That's another question is like if
United States here, we have just like an hour away from me in Lebanon, Kansas. That's the geographical center of the United States.
okay.
For everybody that didn't know that. So we have the geographical center of the United States here in Kansas. I mean, that's not necessarily like a great tourist destination, but around here, it's great tourist destinations.
Yeah.
It's not just a flat over state anymore.
Right.
I mean, we have missile-based silos that are being converted into Airbnbs. We have, let's see, we have Wilson Lake, great tourist destination, great spot.
Well, another,
The list goes on. So,
and another thing I like to get your perspective on is, okay, you talked about the economic aspect of marijuana legalization, but I think that there's a secondary aspect to that.
yeah, there's a medical aspect.
Well, the secondary aspect, well, I'm not even talking about that. I was gonna say, does it promote disrespect for the law when there's a lack of consistency when the law is posited for moral good? So when you tell somebody you can't do this because you have the right in America to pursue, whatever your interests are, as long as you're not interfering with anybody else, and you're smoking weed at your house, and marijuana has never killed anybody in the whole course of recorded human history. Now, if somebody posits that they're doing this for your benefit, and in another state it's legalized and it's regulated and it has medicinal purposes and benefits, then does it promote distrust in a general distrust for government? That's my question.
I honestly think that it increases the question between.
Yeah, the incongruence in government creates a question, a moral conundrum for the citizenry. Like, are we being governed correctly? That's a question. And there's a definite question whether there needs to be some kind of, but that's why it's illegal on a federal level and it's regulated on a federal level. I think it's a controlled class 3 controlled substance or something like that. It's scheduled along the same lines as like heroin and stuff, but the crazy thing is the federal government doesn't enforce that, because if they did, they'd be shutting down Colorado shops left and right. They'd be seizing assets from the state of Colorado, and then they'd have to seize Missouri, Colorado, Illinois, Michigan. Who all's legal now? Yeah, the federal government is about to go to war with the state governments pretty soon, because some of these aspects of, like, okay, the 10th Amendment relegates.
Nowhere in our Constitution do I see that it prohibits marijuana.
Yeah, but we saw just now when the states elected Donald Trump, the constituents, the citizens of the free citizens of the United States, the collective United States of America, elected Donald Trump, and then the federal government persecuted him. The DNC paid for the Steele dossier. They paid for it.
I know, but I'll disagree with you.
Right, and that's what I'm saying is I think we're getting to a position. Have you heard of people talking in Kansas? Is there a lot of talk about calling a convention of the states? There's an article in the Constitution where the states by like 2/3 or a third, I can't remember which one it is, but it's either a third or a 2/3 vote can call a convention of the states and can make changes. Changes to it. That's the thing, is it's generally called for a limited scope. So the people at term limits, US term limits, the thing he signed, it would have been it would have been to support or to co-sponsor, to be willing to co-sponsor or at least support any effort that's brought for a convention of the states to be called to make changes to limit US Congress term limits. Because you have to do that through a convention of the states. I think it's I don't want to get too far into that. So anyways, back to what we were talking about. What events do you have coming up? Give me kind of like a rundown what events you've done so far. What were you doing tonight? Kind of give me like a couple things that stood out to you about the night, things that voters said to you, or a couple of experiences you had on the campaign trail that you just, go ahead. I'm gonna go ahead and turn it over to you, and it's your floor to just talk about the campaign for now. Talk about what you've been doing lately and what kind of experience you had.
Okay, I'm gonna have a pretty good experience meeting a lot of people, meeting a lot of senators and things like that. I got to go to the People's Convention in Detroit to listen about President Trump speak.
Yeah, that was cool.
And I just got done with Marysville not too long ago with a forum there. Honestly, it didn't go that great. It was my first time ever public speaking. I felt like it could have went a lot better. I just got back from Silver Grove tonight from the Lincoln County Fair, from a meet and greet, and I met a lot of good people out there. It was a lot of fun. We'll be back there tomorrow, on the 19th.
That's right. We'll be there with you. Well, she'll be there for the parade on Saturday. I think there's a parade there at the Marshall County.
So far from what I've heard back is I've heard a lot of good feedback. A lot of people are impressed with me that I met in Lincoln, or not in Lincoln, but the Lincoln County Fair there in Silver Grove.
Did anybody say they like the stickers?
Yeah.
Somebody mentioned them?
A lot of questions. I mean, they like my hat. So.
Yes, that's a great hat.
So.
No, the Trump stickers that we brought to the Marysville event. Anybody mention them again? I'm gonna grab one. Go ahead.
I don't have to left.
Okay. Well, go ahead. Keep.
I didn't have to be left for this event, so I can hand you those out.
I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
I'm handing out all my stuff. I just got some signs in, so if anybody would like a sign, you can email me at bonanataforkansas@gmail.com and request a sign placement, and we'll drive one out to you.
Yeah, let's do that right now. We're on that. Let's do the contact information since we're getting kind of closer towards the wrap up.
You can always reach me at 531-239-1496 or at my website, thepatriarchproject.com. I also have a Facebook, Robert Bonanata for Kansas Legislator District 36.
Hey, sir.
If you'd like to follow.
How are you? How are you?
I'm good. How you doing?
Good, man. Sorry to call you out. Got me 3 hours.
No, yeah, we can't talk all that, but
Oh,
I appreciate you, man. Sorry.
Oh, take care,
All right, you too.
Reach out and I'll reach back out to you as soon as possible. Yes, those are pretty awesome.
Do you remember these stickers? Man, they run around the neighborhood on these segways, and it was roofing companies out here earlier, but I think these guys are like a fence company. And I told him we don't have flood problems. He said, well, that's you will if you don't use this. So be proactive.
At the community center from 9 to noon. You can come down and meet with me and we're just, be hanging around, just talking to people. So we look forward to seeing you there. And then after that event, to the Marshall County Fair. And then
Why is he on the phone through my
Monday.
WhatsApp?
Monday, we will be in Clay Center for the 150th anniversary parade.
It's because
If
the
you were
audio
around,
is muted on the
that'd be
YouTube.
awesome. I'm sure your support. I really appreciate it.
Okay, but they can still hear him.
Yeah.
Okay. No, that's good, man. Yeah, no, I'm glad we got a chance to get all that stuff out there. Make sure that everybody know what events you got coming up and how to get a hold of you. And like he said, contact Robert for Bonanata for Kansas. Bonanata for Kansas at gmail.com if you want to sign.
That's FOR. That's FOR.
Yep, Bonanata for Kansas. Spelled all out, no spaces, no periods. And if you want to set up an interview, you can contact me. Say Dodge County at gmail.com. And I'll do all his scheduling for any kind of formal interviews that anybody wants to schedule, or if you'd like the candidate to come and speak at one of your forums or show up at an event. I know you got some parades coming up and some county fairs. Did you already mention all of those?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, obviously,
And
we
what,
have,
what I was
we have the,
I was just gonna ask, what are you looking forward to the most out of the events that you got coming up? And then after that, I want to respond to something else you said, but go ahead.
election day.
Election day. That's good. That's good. Well, that's a good thing to be looking forward to, I guess, right? You're looking forward to it. That means you're optimistic. And I wanted to say that what you said earlier, you said, I spoke and it didn't go well. I didn't, I was there. I was in the audience. I was the second row. Me and Xavier both were. And then I don't think it really went badly. I think people saw what I saw. Um, you're not a politician, right?
No.
How much?
No, I go
How
to
much?
work every day,
That's how much background do you have in politics?
absolutely none.
And when's the first time how long you been public speaking for?
That was my first time.
See, that was it. That was it. So, I mean, people, that resonates with people. I could tell, like, man, this guy's just not a politician. And the guy that came up, the city cop that was challenging the incumbent sheriff, he said, I could tell it was his first time speaking. He said, I remember the first time I had to speak publicly, it was terrible. He said I was a wreck. He said I was jittery. He said some people just don't like talking to, publicly, and it takes some getting used to. And then then politics is something different altogether, because you're sitting with the person that you're running against. It's your opponent, but you guys are sitting there and like sharing a pen or something to take notes and helping each other out and talking about the news and the weather. So it's interesting because politics is a different kind of arena. So it's definitely takes some getting used to. But like I said, I don't think it hurts you. I think that helps you right now with the American people when they see that you're just a grassroots working class guy who does understand. This is the main thing. You know that there's a problem in our country, and everybody doesn't even know it. But of the people who know it, not everybody will stand up to it. And I think that you are somebody who will stand on principle, even if somebody says, hey, man, you might not want to stand up on this one, or you might want to just take a fall, you might want to take a dive on this. And I don't see you as being somebody that, I don't see you as being somebody that'll sell out your values or your integrity.
Yeah, I'm sort of hard-headed. I can't just do that.
Well, it's good to be hard-headed if you have the right values, right? If you got the right leadership in your life, if you're saved, if you believe in our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, and you follow in the right path, and then it's good to stand on principle then. Because when you come across injustice or things that are displeasing to God. You know, corruption in government, the mistreatment of his children, you know, things that God wouldn't like, and you want to stand up to those, I think that's a-okay. And we need more people like that. That's why we're blessed to have President Trump. So I'm glad that you're running, brother, and God bless you, man. I hope the race goes well. You know, if anybody that doesn't know it, I'm gonna go ahead and introduce myself at the end of the video. And I didn't want to introduce myself at the beginning because I don't want to try and overshadow our candidate here, but I'm the campaign director, the campaign manager, anyways. We don't have a campaign treasurer because we're 100% grassroots. We'll take any volunteers that want to come and walk and knock doors with us and talk to the community.
I actually appointed myself as treasurer, so.
Oh, okay. But you know what I'm saying. We don't, hey, I'm the manager here. You quit interrupting me. You're, you're the candidate. Okay. I'm the director. I'm doing campaign stuff. We'll come to you need a policy or something. But yeah, so it's been fun though, man. It's been entertaining. You know what I mean? Like I had my own run and I really did like going out and talking to people and meeting people. It give you something back to go out and talk to Americans and hear what voters have to say, and they share something with you about themselves. You know, I remember a couple porches that I stood on for well over an hour, you know, and we just got into that good of a conversation. So there was one porch I went to when I was knocking doors for Trump in Iowa, and I talked to these guys for 3 hours. And they asked me to come back, and I haven't had a chance to get back there yet because those guys want me to come in and play pool and drink beers with them and stuff. I don't even drink, but you know, it is fun. It is fun, like going out and meeting people and talking about our country and meeting people who care and who take it seriously and who are just as engaged and just as concerned as you are. And it's inspiring, it's encouraging because our country's in a dark place and we need people who give us that optimism, who encourage us and give us that hope that things will turn around and that things are all working for the good of those who love him. So we believe as Christians that if we love God, uh, he's going to have our best interests at heart, and we might not know what his timelines are. We don't know his time, but his time is perfect and not our time. So God gonna turn it around, brother. It's all on his time. And like I said, I appreciate you taking the interview. I appreciate you explaining everything that you did tonight. I appreciate you running, and we'll see you tomorrow. All right.
Okay.
All right, man. Get some sleep. You got a lot to do. All right. All right. God bless.
God bless you too.
Thank you. And it ended. You on the live?
That ends.